The energy before a battle or a clash, the air is thick, and 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 it's like time stops. Traditionally, Evans Head at Christmas time and Boxing Day in particular was always a large gathering of young men meeting up after a surf or a fish at the local pub, and it's been a tradition there to get your shirt ripped off and then drink beer. I've done a few years there, and it was all good fun, a lot of masculine energy, and there was arm wrestling and blokes wrestling, and there'd be fisticuffs on the footpath if someone got their shirt ripped off too hard. And this particular year there was a massive gathering of the Indigenous population. Everyone was drinking together, but there was a racial undertone, and the two groups were coming to collide. Later on that evening, things got out of hand, and both camps were sort of on the street and facing each other, and there was a riot. I was standing there watching the event, and I was singled out by an old grey-beard warrior from the Indigenous side, and just before the two groups come together, a young Bundjalung warrior came running through the crowd and grabbed me and pulled me to safety. He had strength and courage, and he could see that I was going to be in a bit of trouble, and he rescued me from a very violent situation. And then the two groups came to a loggerhead, and the brawling started, and it was really messy. But if it wasn't for him, I would have been amongst it, but he pulled me out of it and sort of protected me. I don't know why or how, but he just did. The remnants of the event just stayed with me for a long time. It's just now I've just been reflecting and thinking about it, and I just started writing, and I'm 100% convinced that it was from the Kundalini work and releasing blockages and healings that I can think and create and write and let stories flow and put past events behind me. And I've just started recently revisiting the area and falling in love with the area again, and thinking about the event and how it impacted my life, and how it put me in a new direction. The glaze of the ancients shone from his eyes. Archaic revival, a pleasant surprise. The depth of knowledge in this modern time. A clever man, young in his prime. Regardless the skin, it's in the eyes. Shamans are akin to what applies. I was lost at sea that sultry night. Anticipated tensions, sparks of fight. Two clans oppose on ancient land. Bundjalung and Celt, no weapons in hand. A Christmas gathering brings about testosterone youth bellowing out. The clash of men, time stood still. An opposing hand grabs at will. The young shaman led me away through chaos and harm's way. No words were spoken, but volumes filled. Courageous and fearless with ancient skill, Younger than me, but wiser in time, he lit the lineage coil in my spine. Years have passed since that event, my eyes glaze with ancient intent.
It makes a lot of sense, especially when I look at your chart and I hear these words like bravery and courage, and you're having your Mars opposition, and Mars is like the war god and fights and the masculine energy as well, the phallic energy, and it's also the athlete and the warrior. Yeah. And so here you have these two different cultural sects coming together, and then there's this clash and like almost a war breaking out. And before the battle started, you had an intervention of someone from the other side coming over to you and withdrawing you from that battle. Yeah. Saying this isn't your battle. And it's amazing, you know, I hear these large groups and tribes, and there was a lot of activity on your Jupiter, which is like the teacher or the good luck charm. And all of this was happening on your Jupiter in your 11th house. So that 11th house is representing the larger community groups that you're affiliated with, social gatherings, social groups. And then here is this, we've got the Neptune and Uranus conjunct happening on your Jupiter. So this Uranus is this sudden and unexpected change, can be, affects the nervous system. Can also be a liberation, and with Neptune it has this spiritual component to it. And so when I hear you talk about this man that kind of, this indigenous man that just cherry picked you for some unknown reason to pull you out of the brawl just before it broke out, is almost like that spiritual guidance. And it's almost like you got to use your lucky card. Yeah. In Jupiter, you got pulled out of that group. Yeah. And the brawl still broke out.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
I end up moving out of the area a couple of months later, and headed on a new life journey, sort of thing. So, and it's one of many little poems. I'm just sort of, I can't help it now. It's just like once a month. I do my regular practice, and then I've got this creative outlet that I just like writing and short stories and doing some poetry. And I say to my wife and my kids that, well, I didn't think I had this in me, or where does it come from? But it's it wouldn't have happened. I believe that if I didn't put the time on the mat, work through facing reality and problems and having the tools to deal with it, with pattern breaking and some of the mantra work and all the great work at the Centre of Life here, I wouldn't have the healings and the creativity that I've got today, which I'm forever grateful.